Welcome to the Financial Freedom Mastermind Group podcast. Here we're all about breaking free from the 40 to 50-year work grind and accelerating our journey towards financial freedom. Join us every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern as we explore different types of investments that can fast-track your path to financial independence. We serve as a hub for connecting with fellow members during our sessions so you can share successes, ask questions, and keep the momentum going.
My name is Niyi Adewole, host of the Hospitable Home Financial Freedom Mastermind Group, and I'm excited to be joining you here on this Wednesday, May 22nd, and this month and year is flying by. Like every single week I mention it, but you really have to be going after your goals each day because you can blink and it can already be the end of the year and you're planning for next year. But joining us with more solid Wi-Fi because he's not at home. LeBond, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Good to be here. Good to be back. And to your point, time does fly. Time really does fly. I mean, today, like a more long-form example, I literally went to my cousin's graduation, and he was in my kitchen as a baby saying berry instead of strawberry because he couldn't pronounce the word. And now he's 18 years old, graduating, and I feel old.
It happens fast, man. It happens fast. Legit. I mean, you met my nephew. My nephew's 21 years old and about 2 inches taller than me. So I'm looking up at him. I'm like, wow, this is crazy. So it does happen fast. No, but welcome back, LeBond. I know you were traveling last week, but we are excited to have you back as the co-pilot on this Hospitable Home Financial Freedom Mastermind Group.
Sir.
And today is an open session. And so anybody that's joining, feel free to click the link below that allows you to join live and or drop any questions or comments you have in the chat, and we'll jump right to that. But LeBond, what's new in your life, man?
I mean, like you mentioned, we did do some traveling, and it there's not much that makes you miss home, like sleeping out in the woods. And I mean, while I was out there, me being a realtor, obviously being curious about kind of the stuff around me, as we were going across all the different states, I was kind of looking at all the different houses around us. I was on like Zillow as we were driving in the neighborhoods. And it's very fascinating how, there's kind of a consistency amongst pricing. I mean, most of your most expensive houses, and this is something, of course, you think about as, oh, this is so obvious. Literally every single city I went through, I tested this because we drove from the outskirts to the center. And as you get into the center, there's a consistent theme. Middle of the city, same thing's going on, highest prices, most activity, all of that stuff. As we go out to the suburbs, and I noticed this as well too, there is kind of a common theme, and I think this is more so as America developed, kind of the way developers moved, everyone was kind of copying each other. Because I saw, especially in the South, very similar. South Carolina, North Carolina, you see the same layout with the highway system looping around a small metro and kind of the outskirts being that high and up and coming price. And as we were stopping at, local, like if we'd stop at a restaurant, I'd kind of ask the people, oh, what's it like here? And they're all saying the same, man, it's getting expensive. People are moving from the north here. And it's very fascinating to see that kind of Atlanta is on the head front in a lot of this development, and all the things that are happening here are happening everywhere, just in a smaller scale in terms of a kind of migration towards the Southeast in general. So that was kind of very surprising to note. I thought, and as every investor thinks that's only in one market, oh, it's just here that houses are expensive, but it's quite literally everywhere else. And then when you get into a really expensive market like New York, where I was looking at it like, oh my God, what? You kind of see how it got to that point through everything else. So it's very fascinating.
You can see why people in New York and the Bostons and the Californias, when they look at Atlanta, like, dude, this is cheap. I still remember when I first moved down here back in February of 2021, the house that I bought was $670 down here. For an example, what I could get in Boston, and I'm not talking downtown Boston. I'm not even talking really Boston proper. I'm talking on the outskirts of Boston, like barely in Boston. It'd be what you consider like Stone Mountain here, right? Where it's like you're not necessarily there, but I was quote unquote technically still in Boston. For this price, I'd be able to get a 2-bed, 2-bath condo, right? A new one, a dope one, but a 2-bed, 2-bath condo for $660K is what it was when I left there. I don't know what it is now.
Wow.
And I came down here and was able to get a 5-bed, 4-bath with an in-law suite
Yeah.
for 670. So I came down here with my eyes wide open, like, hey, I can get a lot. And so that's what people that are moving from those areas are thinking when they're coming down here. And that's why it's so easy for them to scoop up some of these properties. And when you see the Atlanta metro moving in to become, the sixth largest metro and starting to be mentioned in those names of, hey, this is where people are moving to. And when you think about 69,000 people in 2023 moving here, which is a heck of a lot, I think that was the most in the nation of migration.
Behind Texas and Florida.
Behind Texas. Maybe like the second or third most, right?
Yeah, we're third. We're third.
Third. Okay.
Yeah, we're third.
Third most. Thank you for keeping me honest.
Yeah.
Third most individuals moving. And when you start to look at these patterns and how they look at the pricing that we have here compared to where they're coming from, there's still a lot of upside to move up. And so it's what gets me excited about continuing to invest in this market, especially when we have an anchor like the 2026 World Cup that's going to open even more people's eyes to the beautiful city of Atlanta.
No, 100%. 100%. Yeah.
Justin, welcome, man. How you doing?
What's going on, man? How y'all living?
Come on now. Hustling, trying to make it happen.
Yes, sir.
LeBond, how your internet living today? It's good?
Man, out of my aunt, so it's a lot better. We might start doing them here. If we don't get a single drop, we might just every Wednesday get an excuse. I get to see my aunt, get to do this, works out well.
Come on now.
Yeah.
Hey, you get ready to send Justin to your crib to rewire everything.
Everything. We're not got a chance of no more, guys. We're not chancing it no more.
No. Justin, anything new in your life, man?
Nothing new, man. Nothing new right now. Currently, just getting through these NBA playoffs. Been having a lot of stuff going on with the NBA, but other than that, man, just making.
To that point, I know you just had your baby, right? And so, are you working mostly from home, or are you going to travel at some point during this?
I'm working mostly from home. I'm not going to do any travel this year, so I'm just going to produce all the features from remote. So I got a couple guys that are out on the road. They're going to handle the interviews for me. They'll feed it back. Then we'll cut the features from that. We got Carl Anthony Towns going out tonight. So y'all see that here in a few minutes on the Inside the NBA show.
Nice.
Do you need any of us to fill in for you? All right, because I can do that. All right, you give me a couple playoff tickets, I'll be out there.
All I need is a seat. Just one.
Just one. No, what you do on a day-to-day is pretty awesome, man. I don't know if I say this enough or if we appreciate it enough, but it's pretty cool to be with somebody that's literally creating what we all watch on a day-to-day. So it's pretty cool to see.
Just trying to get it done.
AJ, how you doing? Not much, man. Hey, we trying to make it happen on a Wednesday. There it goes. Hey, go ahead and show off the hardware, man.
What's up? Running in my crash because of that. Too much. Can't get on them pixels.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. That is awesome. AJ, what you got going on, man? Oh. Hey, I don't got any hardware like that.
No,
the years I was playing in high school and college, we didn't really win anything. So, I don't know if it was because of me or the other guys, but we're gonna table that.
You on the team sport, that's true.
Yeah, we're gonna table that one. But AJ, anything new in your world from investing and in real estate standpoint?
I actually have a caveat since we're talking about listings. The job I've been running lately is doing a 20% markup on Hospitable for Airbnb, and then instantly just giving a 20% discount on Airbnb's platform. That way I'm always at the top of the search query and getting that strike through for the listings. So it's like, same way they do at the retailer stores, right? Oh, this is on sale, but it was the same price a week ago. They just increased it by 20%, and then they said it's 20% off. So that's what I'm doing right now, and it's been working really good for me. I noticed, like, soon as I do that, I typically get an influx in bookings right there after it. I only do it for the month that we're currently in. So say I got 20% higher a month out from now. So if somebody books a month out, they're just going to get hit with the additional 20%. But if you're booking this month, you're going to get the 20%. You're going to get the regular rate because you're getting the 20% off on the Airbnb listing. And I actually only do the 20% off on Airbnb. Booking.com still remains the 20% markup, VRBO, all those other sites. It's just Airbnb. I'm giving that discount because they give you the strike through on their platform.
That is very smart.
Great strategy. I didn't think that.
And so you do give the discount on Airbnb, but you're marking up the rate 20% on Hospitable because, it pulls in PriceLabs, and then your markup, if you mark it up 20% on Hospitable, it goes 20% higher than that. So when you're slashing it 20% on Airbnb, you're just discounting the markup you just put in. The only caveat to it, it pulls your data from like a month or two back on Airbnb. to make sure that you're not just, slashing your prices. But once you have it set a month out with the 20% markup, it'll all flow correctly because they're using your previous prices in order to set that 20% discount because they're averaging that discount that they're giving you on Airbnb. So long as you're already built, because it's not on PriceLabs. So PriceLabs, you're just sending out your regular rates, right? Their dynamic pricing that you have. Then on Hospitable, where you have the markup feature, you can go inside of there and you can list all 4 of your accounts. And they have the markup tool so you can make sure you're getting the same rate versus the platforms that have the different fees. So I'm using that a little differently. I'm just using it as a true markup tool. So I'm marking up the listing an additional 20%, and then I'm turning around and I'm giving a 20% discount on Airbnb. Does that make sense? So it's like, it's null. I'm just doing that so I can get the strike through in the promotional things on Airbnb, but I'm not discounting my property any because I've already marked it up 20% that I'm discounting.
And you're doing this for the month of May. So like, for instance, all your open days on May get filled out. So you aren't already going to have any people. So it's kind of just to boost that occupancy number. Like
exactly. So like a month, a month in advance out from this month, they would just end up paying the 20% premium, right? Because they're booking farther in advance. So it could, it could hinder your farther out bookings a little bit, but we've seen in this cycle that we're getting a lot more bookings closer to the date. So I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and make sure I'm at the top of those listings when Airbnb send out these emails. Airbnb's having travelers come to this area. They're sending my home first. And, as a buyer, we love to think we're getting a good deal. Yeah. So if you 20% off, these rates are lower than they typically are on this property. You're going to get less complaints because people feel like they're getting a built-in discount. You kind of think you can run the risk of getting those cheap guests. When people think they're already good and a good deal and you're setting that standard, you're giving them great service, they're going to be good to go.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a great strategy.
That's a great point. Yeah, it's one that we can definitely start to look into. I can tell you, even just from the switch to PriceLabs, that software is incredible. Now I can't stop preaching about it. And once a week, we do a little bit of what AJ was talking about, and then also what Jess is talking about with price optimization. On Fridays, I meet with the team, and we literally walk through all the reviews that we got from Airbnb. And they have a cool insights tab where when you have more than one listing, it really helps to kind of like give you the highlights for that week. And you can see, are we trending in the right direction? Are we trending down? And you can get and see the reviews from the guests. And whether it's a good review or a bad review, we always try to pull something from it. And if it makes sense, there's some guests that we're not going to be able to satisfy. Like, hey, you guys should have, X, fill it with whatever, right? And we're not going to put that on the property. But some guests will be like, hey, it'd be great if you had some extra throw blankets. Like, okay, we could do that. Let's put a throw blanket underneath, a storage over there and things of that nature. And so we're always reiterating and trying to add more to our properties with the feedback that we get from guests.
Yeah, dope. Speaking of, I use Hospitable and QuickBooks. Like I have my listings set up separately in QuickBooks. I only have 2. So I have them set up so I can quickly look at a profit loss statement because all the cleaning fees and all those things are currently tagged. So once those things come out, the bottom line just shows true to what you have. And then in a snapshot, in a 30-day period, you can know whether or not you made money or you lost money. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to figure out. Like all the other stuff is important, but, once you make sure you're on the right side of making money, then you can start optimizing and figuring out, like your nightly rate and all those things. But you can pretty easily see that on Hospitable. I think it is a matter of just utilizing all those tools to kind of get the best insight that you can. But I will say on Hospitable, I've noticed that you have to make sure that you hit the checkbox for accepted bookings because it'll have some cancellations in your earnings if you don't click that on.
100% agreed. I use on a week to week when we're doing our Friday check-ins, I'm using Airbnb because it's a little bit quicker. It's a little bit simpler and I don't have to alter as much. I can just pull up exactly what they have, put the date range, and it has all the metrics we're looking for. And in those Friday meetings, I have my guest experience managers. They're doing all the messaging and they have metrics that are tied to them. We have our cleaners and they have the metric that's tied to them, which is cleanliness. And then we have kind of all the other stuff, which is just the overall team, right? An operations manager. And then on a month to month, I use exactly what Justin does. I pull it from Hospitable and I'm actually pulling down an Excel sheet that I can filter because we've now moved majority of our cleaning teams and things of that nature and our guest experience team to monthly payments. because if it was anything more frequent than monthly, it would drive me crazy because I got too much coming in, right? And so with that in mind, I pull it from there and filter it down once a month, usually on the first of the month. So if you ever try to reach me on the first of the month and I'm just MIA, it's because I'm doing all these invoices and stuff. And then I send that out so that the whole team can see it, because you can filter down and you can really get some nice feedback from that. But Hospitable does take a little more working, and you got to export stuff. Whereas Airbnb, if you're going to look at it pretty consistently, you can just pull that up.
Like door locks.
And this is for
that would be a lot.
You add. This is $5 per home or $5 per lock, literally.
That would be a lot. That's a game changer.
Yeah.
All right, moving to guesting.
Come on now. No. I think AJ, thank you for the heads up. I'm definitely going to join the next session, and maybe reach out to a folks or two if I see the bill change, because that'd be a heck of a lot, man. That's not a good way to keep some of the larger folks, right? And I know that's one of the things that they're trying to do. They're looking to, combat and get some like people that have more. Because when you look at their platform, I want to say like 90% of the hosts they have less than 5 properties, and they're trying to, start to crack into that, the Casa world where people have hundreds of properties and they're using Hospitable. But adding that type of fee it definitely kind of deters you from using some of the features. The whole point of having the smart locks linked to there is that it makes it more seamless for you. And if you got to pay extra for it, that's tough.
Yeah. Oh, I would say one good thing that I've noticed recently about Hospitable. Have you guys seen where they give you a snapshot of the type of guests you have now, like what they like?
Yeah. You talking about the AI snapshot?
Yeah, tells you this guy wants extra coffee or things of that nature. I think that'll be very useful to make sure you're providing the right type of hospitality. Because a lot of times we could be doing things that the guests don't even care about, but based on the insight they've given the platforms, they're pulling all this data in order to let you know what these people are looking for. That's something that we did at Apple. Is we would keep notes on our clients that came in, so we always knew who was who and what type of service they needed. And that was huge.
So they do that at Apple.
Yeah. So we once a guest comes in, the interaction is kind of like a chain of everything that working without that guest.
Oh,
that's pretty cool.
I got a 5.
And 2. Here we go. So this is what Justin's talking about, just so everybody can kind of see. So it gives you the AI summary. Smooth communication with hosts, detailed information, locations near beaches, amenities, hosts that go above and beyond. And then you have all the reviews right here that you can just click through and know whether or not you want to rent to somebody, which is pretty cool.
How do they get that information? How does
they're pulling it from the reviews, right?
Yeah, it seems like it's based on the reviews they've left for other hosts.
Oh, I like the fact that this house had a lot of the good communication. That's what I like, because they're rating the actual host. Mm-hmm. So they're saying, okay, I get it. So
I was actually kind of doing that manually before it came in. I would always go, once I got a new booking, I'd go read the reviews. And then, once you read the reviews, you can see who left them reviews. So then you can go to their profile. And a lot of times the people had left comments on theirs, so you can see is this going to be a guest that's really going to nail me on a review, or they're going to be a stickler about things that they see in the home. So you can kind of make sure that you're taking good care of those people that are pretty sure to leave a review.
Yeah, especially when you think about if you start to move into that more luxury space, this could be huge, right? There's the hotels of the world, like the JWs, and I'm blanking on the other names of different premium hotels where they. Yeah, JW Marriott, right? Hilton has the Signia and things of that nature, where they really keep track of everything that you like, even down to the temperature that you like when you check into your room. And they try to make sure it's all set up for you. And so as you start to move into bigger homes and luxury spaces, this thing's going to come in super handy. I'm actually excited because we're going to be closing on a home here. Now it's going to be toward the end of next month. It's just now finishing up. And the unit that we're going to turn into a B&B is a 4-bed, 3-bath, and we're planning to make it more luxury. And we're definitely going to be utilizing these insights and starting to leave some different types of refreshments and things of that nature to really pull in more guests, get those 5-star reviews, and get this thing going. Dwayne, welcome to your first Financial Freedom Mastermind group meeting, man. How you doing?
Oh yeah, all is well. What's going on, guys? I was here trying to log in for a bit. So I heard you guys, I heard a discussion. I'm like the magic man in the background. It's fine.
And anytime somebody joins for the first time, right, we always like to give you the floor just to introduce yourself. And you've already met a couple of these individuals on here, but just to introduce yourself and talk about a little bit of your investments.
Sure. So I guess it's only AJ I haven't met. So my name is Dwayne Lawrence. I met Niyi and Deanna, just a month ago, and you guys already helped me to find a property. Starting the real estate journey, just closed on a quad, and looking to invest more.
Come on now.
Yeah.
Closing the quad and getting after it.
Exactly. Yeah. So I live in Alpharetta at the moment. So I'm here locally, and I'll look forward to learn more.
And what were you looking for? Like, what was your first investment, and what are you looking to do kind of in the future?
Yeah. So started off with a quad, but so I have a primary residence, and then I have one investment property, and continue to focus on primarily multifamily. But here in Atlanta, I do have some connections up in Philadelphia. I am planning on taking a trip up there, primarily around the universities, to see what kind of opportunities are available. People keep sending me deals like all the time, but I would really like to see it before I pull the trigger.
Nice.
So that is the plan.
Okay.
Dwayne, as somebody that lived in North Philly for upwards of 5-6 years, that's a good idea. You definitely want to go up there and drive the streets and make sure, like, hey, because it does get street by street around the university, especially if you're thinking around Temple, which is North Philly. You walk a couple blocks off campus and it's a completely different story. But there are some opportunities out there. Those numbers were incredible. I still remember back when I was living on campus. This is way back when, but I used to be a leasing agent. That was my first foray into real estate. And it's kind of funny how I got into it. I'm not even going to get in the story how I got into it, but long story short, I was leasing up about 100 units around campus, right? Like, this is just people that owned multifamilies around the university. And of course, I saved a dope unit for me and my friends. And I was actually paying $375 per month. And I had all of us paying $375 per month to kind of live in this brand new build, dope home. So yeah, long story short, I would drive the neighborhood to make sure. But Philly's is a good opportunity. I think PA in general was named one of the most affordable places in the U.S. to continue to invest in.
What type of tenant were you, Niyi?
Yeah.
I was a good tenant. No, I was a great tenant, man. Come on now. Hey, we ain't gonna get into that. That being said,
Other units in his Airbnbs.
with other units though, I did make some dumb decisions back then. So I told you I was a leasing agent, but I did get fired after my first year and a half. Reason being, I had keys to all these units. I had homeboys that was, throwing parties, things of that nature. And we thought it'd be a good idea to have a Halloween party in an empty unit because it wasn't rented. And that did not turn out to be a good idea. We can get in that story later, but I was shortly fired after. But it was a cool party. Police were called and a lot happened.
Now,
Yeah, down bad, but we made it. We made it. Dwayne, sorry to kind of just shift the whole thing, but congrats. Welcome, and we are excited to have you join us.
Yeah, you live and learn, right?
Yeah. This group is part therapy, part investment talk, but no, I'm excited to have you as part of the crew. And we meet every Wednesday, 7 p.m. to about 7:45, just to walk through kind of what's going on in our lives and different opportunities that are popping up. And one thing that LeBond and I wanted to cover today a little bit was the other side of real estate. So I know a lot of times we're talking about acquiring and we're talking about, how do you analyze a deal? How do you make a deal work in this environment? But the other side of it is also getting a home ready to list and getting it sold when that time comes. So LeBond, you had a couple things you wanted to cover there?
Yeah. I mean, I always say whenever you are listing your house, a lot of people think that, all the cute things that you have in your house. And this is the big one. I'm going to start with the major one. All of the cute things that you thought you liked. Oh, the nice design on the wall that's a unique color, or, different kind of renovation that you did. I always recommend when you are about to list your house, make it as bare bones as possible. You want to get rid of as much furniture that isn't necessary. If you can move out already, highly suggest moving out, because that's going to do two things. One, make the home much easier to show, allow more flexible showings, which is arguably the most important, because when you hit market, the first 2 weeks are when all the eyes are on that property, because it's the new kid on the block in a lot of sense, and everyone wants to figure out what it is about. And so Most important thing is have it clean and have it bare bones with kind of furniture. If you are going to have furniture in it, unless you just bought, unless all the furniture you have is newer, a lot of people have kind of the older furniture because, as I like to say, we treat ourselves worse than we would treat the things that we're selling off, right? So if you are going to have furniture in, highly recommend staging. Actually, homes staged versus unstaged sell, I think, 10% faster and I forgot the exact number, but they also sell for more money a lot of times staged. When we say staged, you don't have to do the whole house, just literally living room and the master bedroom is more than enough, because what it allows is for the people who are walking in to envision their life in that home, and the furniture kind of lets them say, oh, my bed could fit there, or I don't know if the couch that their couch is bigger, our couch is smaller, we can move our couch in here. So those two are the major ones. Make sure it's ready to show, clean. Those two big ones, big ones. I always say that's the 80 of the 20.
Agreed. And piggybacking off of that, getting your house prepped and removing and kind of taking away the personal effects. That's huge, right? I can tell you, I was out with a client. We've been out with the same client for the past 2.5 weeks, looking at a bunch of houses. And one of the houses was the perfect layout. It was set up well. The backyard was nice, pool. It was like, man, this is going to be the one. But the owner had an affinity for I think it's called taxonomy. I'm not a hunter.
Oh, taxonomy, the dead animals.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
And apparently he was pretty good. He literally had killed, there was a bear that was stuffed in there. There was deer. I don't even know what kind of animals were in there. And then there was a whole room that was full of his guns that was locked off, but you could see them. And long story short, that messed up the whole vibe for the buyer. And it's probably going to have that house sitting for a good amount of time. Yeah. Had he just removed some of those items and just desensitized it to where okay, I don't feel like I'm coming in here after a horror show happened, we may have been the buyers for it, right? But the buyer got freaked out by that. They said, hey, the house is great, but we don't want to be moving in after, animals, things of that nature. And so piggybacking off of you, what we try to do anytime we're getting ready to list a home, especially when that was stayed in, is take out all the family pictures, right? Take down all the personal effects and really make it look as staged as possible if you still have to stay in that house. And to LeBond's point, if you're able to move to another house, that is ideal. Get out of there. We'll just put the bare minimum furniture to where people can fill the open space and have their creativity start working and go from there. And you'll get much more and get a faster sell.
Yeah. I mean, even if you're doing an appraisal, same kind of rules apply. You want that house to be clean. You kind of want to get rid of all the weird, more so like Niyi said, personality things that might drive someone off, because you want this thing to look as blank as possible. So that way it's less emotional, or not even emotional, more unlogical thinking of, oh, they have this thing or that in the kitchen. And so that alone I've seen dramatically raise some of the appraisal values. For instance, cleaning especially will raise the appraisal value in a lot of places, I've noticed. So those are, I think, the most important.
Agreed. And last tip on that piece, when buyers are walking through a house, not every agent is investor minded like we are, right? Or investor minded like our clients are, right? Where we can see something and say, hey, we could change that. This paint color doesn't work, but I could paint that, right? Mm-hmm. This scratch on the wall, we could fix that piece. We don't really trip over too much, right? Unless it's a major concern. But most buyers are going to walk in there and they're going to visualize the place as it is, as it's going to stay that way. Hey, this wallpaper's here, or this color of the paint wall's here. I guess it has to stay that way. I don't like this house, right? And so that's why you want to do as much as you can ahead of time, to where there's a lot less blemishes that they're going to see and things of that nature. Because what they're seeing in their mind is, hey, this is how the house is. Almost like if you're buying a car, hey, the tires popped. I guess I got to buy this with a tire popped. It's no, we're going to fix that tire beforehand. When you're going to go list that car or that house, you should fix it before you list it. I.e., I had this stare where during the winter time, right? I think the first winter we were here, there was actually a little bit of snow. And someone had the bright idea, not going to mention any names, to throw some salt on top of wood. And if you've ever put salt on top of wood, it will eat that wood apart. And so one of the treads was eaten apart from, for the past 2 years. And I kept looking at it, walking up yeah, I got to fix that. But when we listed our home to sell, I was yeah, I actually need to fix that. We got it fixed within a week. And now I'm thinking like, dang, we could have been used this. But long story short, you want to get those blemishes fixed and then take the pictures and then get it listed.
And to add to your point even further about kind of the whole blemishes, a lot of the times you even want to fix the blemishes is to avoid spiraling by the client, because a lot of times they'll walk into a house and say, and everyone's house, there's something that needs to be done, but it's kind of getting put off. But for some reason, when a buyer walks in, even though there's something in their house that definitely needs to be done that they haven't taken care of, they'll see something wrong and go, this is wrong. What else? And that what else that they have in their mind a lot of times can kill a deal before it even starts. And so that's really, you want to avoid that situation in the first place, because I'm sure Niyi can tell you alone with me, the amount of times we've kind of gone into a house and something small is kind of being a real issue for our client when it's not in the grand scheme of things going to make or break the house.
Agreed.
Niyi,
We got about
your personal home listed.
Yeah, got it listed. And before this call, I was actually on a long call with an individual. A lot of agents are doing more like part-time things of that nature and may not know like some of the creative ways that you can get a deal done. And so a client came to go see it maybe a week ago. Yeah, last Friday. And they really liked it. But the interest rates and the price, they're like, hey, this is a bit out of our range. And so I was like, hey, let's hop on a phone. Are you open to us all jumping on a Zoom? So I jumped on a Zoom with him and his client. And what we talked through was, hey, what if we got creative around some seller credits to knock down your interest rate? Would that make it more attainable, right? And so what we walked through was, hey, if we structure a deal this way and you offer above X amount and we give you X amount of credits, we could take your interest rate down from a 7% that the bank's talking about down to closer to a 5%. And that equates to about $1,000 a month in savings. Consider that with the in-law suite. Does that make it more attainable? And he's like, yeah, it does. He's like, but my bank's saying that potentially can't happen. So I just connected them to our lender, Ricardo, right? To say like, hey, Ricardo, talk to these guys. So we're going to figure all that out. But yes, I got the house listed. We're looking to get this thing sold because we have our other house under contract. Say again?
You both commissions, right? You're doing the other agent's job.
Yeah, but hey, it's you do whatever you can to make sure the deal goes smooth. A lot of times you can actually leave on he's doing the other agent's job too, because they're like, hey, we've never done this before. I think that this new ruling with NAR, which is supposed to now hit in August, it got pushed back a little bit. It's going to help weed out a lot of those agents, right? A lot of the agents that only do 1-2 deals.
Man, it hurts me.
You can't be an expert at something if you only do it once or twice, right? You've got to continue doing it over time, and that's how you get the expertise. Like all the stuff that you've been giving us about the Airbnbs, I'm like, holy crap! Like, I need to go to Justin for these tips, right? Because he's hitting us because he's been doing it with multiple B&Bs now. Same with AJ, and even the Turo tips that AJ is able to give, it's because he's been doing it for a while. And so, same thing with the realtor piece. If you only do one deal as a realtor, it's very hard to know how to work through weird situations, right? Or like, hey, the appraisal came in low. Does that mean the deal's dead? No, there's ways around it, and we can kind of go there.
Yeah, I actually been thinking. I'm trying to map out my strategy now, figure out how long I'm gonna hold my home I have in Decatur, or whether or not it's time to go ahead and trade up. The only thing that's kind of locking me into it is the rate. I got a 3% rate on that thing, but I'm looking at it like I'd love to get another multifamily because once I get out of that one, I get my zero down back through the VA. So it's like I have about 100,000 in equity right now, so I could take that money, invest it into the next deal, for some furnishings or whatever, and roll into a quadplex or something of that nature. I'm just trying to think, do I want to go that one more year because I got within 5 years that I could hold it and sell it, or do I want to go ahead and move on and get into another property, or do I buy another home and put the money down this year, hold the other house for another year, then sell it then? It's just, I'm playing it through in my mind, but if you guys got any thoughts or any feedback, what do you think?
Yeah, for the Decatur home, if you're able to, I would hang on to it. And it's not about, at least for a little bit longer, and it's not necessarily about you getting that entitlement back and things of that nature. I think you should continue down your path of getting one property a year if you're able to, however that looks like, whether it's the 0% down, or 5% down, or 3.5% down. But the reason I say hang on to that property is if you don't have to sell a property right now, it's not the time, right? You want to wait till the Fed actually starts to cut that interest rate and that optimism goes back up, and then you throw that thing out there. There's so many buyers that are sitting on the sideline right now because, millennials is the biggest generation now. They're in the house formation age, but the high interest rates are keeping people on the sideline. that when the Fed, and it's probably going to be after the election now, but once they start to cut those interest rates, they're going to flood back into the market. And now you can get higher price just because it's cheaper for somebody to buy. So now that person that was priced out at a 7% interest rate at 6.5, they can afford it now. And now you get more competition. So I'd highly recommend that. The only reason I'm selling my personal house right now is because it's really nice. And I would not want somebody to destroy that piece and diminish the value. And we have a lot of equity built into it. So I want to sell this, move that into the new house, which we're trading up because we already got that under contract. And it's basically getting 2 units, or really getting 3 units from a quote unquote 2 unit. But yeah, that's what I would say. LeBond,
The only
AJ,
thing that's
Dwayne.
hanging me up is if I hold it for an additional year past this year, then I'll be hit with the capital gains tax. I know it's not crazy, but the potential that I could make more could be offset with those capital gains tax. Once you get past the 5 years, you're kind of out of the dead because you have the 2 years in it, then within the 5 years, right? So I lived in the. Go ahead.
No. Sorry, go ahead. You said 2 because you do a little bit.
Years, you're no longer in that freedom period of like you lived in it for 2 years as a primary res.
You have to live in it for 2 of the last 5 years, and that will give you, and Justin get up to $500K in equity for free. And so, has it been that long already? I feel like if one more year. How long has it been so far?
Well, it doesn't have to be within the 5 years from the day you purchase. So, like the 5 years can start the day you move out.
No, it's within 5 years. No, not the day you purchase. It's within the last 5 years. If you lived in the house 2 of the last 5 years, so you can essentially
Okay. Yeah, we're
after
good.
you moved out, you've got 3 years.
Yeah,
after
so
you moved out, you have 3 years to sell it.
If you bought it in 2019, this would be like, I got to get it gone.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, basically, if you like the date that you moved out, you have 3 years to sell it. So I could move out of this house, right? I bought this house in February 21. I can move out and I'll still have up to 3 years to sell it. I just want to sell it now because we're using that money to buy the other house.
Exactly.
And kind of moving it up and things like that.
Yeah, I just moved out last November, so I'm good.
You guys have time.
Yeah, you got time. And I was going to say, that's what I was going to say. I would do if I was in your position, Justin, is exactly what Niyi is doing. I would wait until I find the quadplex that says, okay, I like this one. I'm going to have to go after this one. Let me go ahead and start the process and then put it on the market and then kind of send out an offer, hey, contingent upon the sale of my house.
Okay.
Structure it like that because you can do it that way. Because I would hate for you to sell it, and especially with right now the way we are at, Atlanta doesn't have a lot of multis. And not only does it not have a lot of multis, it doesn't have a lot of multis that make sense from a cash flowing aspect. I mean, unless you're ready to go up to 1.5, the mil plus for a quad, because that's what in Atlanta they're going for currently. I'd say like a quadplex it starts at a mil. So until you basically are at the position where you found the deal or you're now okay, I am fully ready now. Then because I'd hate for you to just trade out of an already cash flowing asset into something that you're going to have to redo without having it already set in stone. And then you're kind of caught in the middle ground.
But would you suggest he uses equity, maybe an ELOC, and try to get another property and just keep that property?
Yeah, I could. The only thing about the HELOC, it gets really tricky with the VA loans because they don't like for you to take an additional credit when you have a VA loan. There's ways around it, but it's, with the 3.5%, 5% down, because we're making money right now and we're basically living for free because I'm house hacking. Like we'll just roll that money that we're earning into the next property.
I was going to say, can you refinance out of a VA loan?
You can, but I'm at 3%, man. So
hell no, you ain't refinance out of that.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a great point. I forgot you were 3%.
To that point, and Dwayne, to your point, and then we'll wrap for the night. I'm always a bit wary about using a HELOC to buy another property if you don't have a clear way of paying that HELOC off within, call it 6 months, right? Now, if you're going to invest in a flip or something of that nature, absolutely. Or you're going to fix up the same property or take a HELOC out on this property and build an ADU on it. I like that because then you have something that's paying it off. But if you take a HELOC out to go buy another property, now you got 2 mortgages. It really puts a lot of pressure on that property. And I don't know how many deals are going to work like that in this environment because HELOCs, at least my HELOC's like 10% right now. Just crazy. So yeah.
It's really easy into your cash flow.
Yep.
My heart skipped a
guys,
percent there. I got a little stressed for you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I'm bald, man. This is why. It's the HELOC. The HELOC is what did it. I don't know about Dwayne, but the HELOC's what did it for me. But guys, no, we are going to wrap for the night. I hope that everybody has an awesome Wednesday. Don't forget to check out the game on TNT because Justin, our very own Justin Parham, put together the videos that you're going to be looking at, and it's going to be a great game. We're looking forward to catching you guys next week, and I will see you then.
Join us every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern as we explore different types of investments that can fast-track your path to